Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. Coming into the new year, early in the year, very often a lot of us are thinking about taking better care of ourselves. Some of us have realized that we've barreled through the previous year and perhaps continued working through the break, the so-called break, or are just tired, or it's cold, and we just feel we need a little bit of self-care. And I think there's so much in the media now about taking care of ourselves, and we all know it's a really good idea. So attitudinally, most of us are probably in a good place in relationship to that. But I discovered something last year. I was in a phase where I was finding it, I had a lot of, in that time, I had a lot of resistance to doing things to take care of myself, giving myself some self-love. And as I explored this, I noticed I even had some resistance to exploring it. And I realized what was going on was there was a kind of low-grade sad feeling going on. And at first I thought this was a sad feeling about not doing nice things for myself. You know, a sad feeling about having too much to do or not feeling I had enough time. Just sort of a sad feeling of, oh, poor me, I can't really have that extra yoga class right now. I can't really book myself an acupuncture appointment. I can't really take that extra rest because there's so much to do and it's all very important. But as I, again, reflected on that, I realized that wasn't it. That was just a smokescreen. There was something behind that, something deeper. And I decided to do a bit of exploration. And as you may have picked up with my various communications, that I did a lot of decluttering last year. And one of the pieces of decluttering I did was I found boxes of old papers and notes and journal notes and things like that. And I discovered in there some information and some sharings I'd written down about something that was actually a source of old grief, which was unacknowledged for me. It was an old relationship where there was still a bit of wounding present for me in my body. And I hadn't really realized the degree to which there was still some old aching sadness and grief about that old relationship and about the way that it came to an end. And it was interesting when I looked at that, I thought, my God, this is decades ago that this happened. Surely by now it should be fine. And on one level, yes, of course, it was completely fine. Everything had been resolved. There was no issues. There were no actual problems. But I didn't alter the fact that still within me, there was a bit of old grief sitting there, which had gone unacknowledged. I'd forgotten it was there. In a way, I was pretending it wasn't there. I was turning away from it. And I decided to explore that a bit. I actually had some conversations with the person who had been involved at the time and some conversations with some other people about this and really turned round and faced into this old sadness, this old grief. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't comfortable. It was quite difficult for me to do it. And I found myself noticing self-criticism about the way I dealt with the situation. And it's easy, I think, in these situations to allow the mind to go running off in all sorts of unproductive and unhelpful directions. But actually, it turned out to be a very helpful thing for me to explore. And almost magically, as soon as I'd finished exploring this, it suddenly became really easy for me to book that yoga class, book that acupuncture appointment, take that extra rest, do the things for myself that were actually self-care and an expression of self-love. So I realized in that little experience that there was a direct connection between the unacknowledged old, deep grief and my capacity and energy for self-love in the present. Now, why that is the case, I decided not to fully analyze that. I decided just to acknowledge it and recognize it, and just to say to myself, it's a good idea for me to be aware if there's something left in there, in the body, in the heart, in the mind, some old wound, some old pain that I have forgotten about or pretending is not there. Nothing traumatic, nothing major, just something that's still present, still casting its shadow. To just keep an eye open for that. And if I catch myself finding it difficult to give myself the self-love that I actually need in the present, maybe pause and ask myself, is there something I am not paying attention to that me to pay attention to it? Is there something unacknowledged? Is there some old unacknowledged grief or sadness or pain of some sort that wants to be acknowledged, and which, when acknowledged open-heartedly and with compassion, can actually give me that sense of space, clear, still space and peace, where my natural enthusiasm to do what I need to do, part of which is to take care of myself, is then renewed and refreshed. So if you're somebody who's currently struggling with doing what you know works for you in terms of self-love and self-care, maybe take a pause and just consider, is there something lurking in the background for you that wants to be acknowledged? And when I say acknowledged, I don't mean analyzed, I don't mean explained, I don't mean fixed, I don't mean working out who's right, who's wrong, who's to blame. I'm simply talking about acknowledging that patch of sadness, if it's present, and giving it a bit of care, a bit of love. It's almost as if, in order to be able to give ourselves self-love in the present, we also need to be giving that self-love to our past self as well. And that can be really quite revealing, and I feel personally changed and renewed by having gone through that experience. And I am very much enjoying my yoga classes at the moment. So thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. If you have a comment about this or something you'd like to share, I'm always delighted to see comments, whether it's below a post, whether it's below a video, and I will always respond. So I would like to wish you a week with some self-love within it. Take care, and I'll see you next time.